that Trey Lance is the quarterback for 2022. More after this.
Let's go get him. Let's go get him today, man. Let's go. Hey, dominate on 3. 1, 2, 3. Dominate.
What's going on, everybody? I'm back here with another video today. I was on earlier today with Sunil. We had a podcast episode, but some new information just dropped. Kyle Shanahan was on a podcast today with Tim Kawakami, the TK show, and some bombshell information dropped. And let's start. First of all, he talked about Trey Lance, and yes, he did. He confirmed that Trey Lance is essentially the starter for 2022. When we look at his words, he said that it's going to be very nice not having to name a starter like he did last year. Remember, every single week, reporters would ask him, "Who's your starting quarterback?" And he would have to say, "I don't know." Now he doesn't have to do that. Why? He said, "We had an awesome run with Jimmy Garoppolo. It was great. But when you bring in a salary cap and things like that, there are so many tough decisions that you have to make. And we made that decision with our quarterback a year ago." What does he mean by that? They drafted Trey Lance with the 3rd overall pick in 2021. And then after that, guess what? They had a succession plan in place. They wanted to give Jimmy Garoppolo the 2021 season so that Trey Lance could get ready. Jimmy Garoppolo went out. He performed pretty well. He ends up going to the NFC Championship game. And then obviously, now he's pretty much gone from San Francisco. Kyle Shanahan specifically said, "Jimmy gave Trey a year that I thought he needed just to get used to this league, get his feet wet a little bit. But I think our team's ready for Trey. Going through OTAs, I'm just pumped to get to work and provide him some practices because I know the kid has abilities, he's made of the right stuff, and he just needs the reps." There you go. Kyle Shanahan said it straight up. He thinks Trey Lance is the guy. He thinks the team thinks Trey Lance is the guy, and he's ready to go. But that's not all. Kyle Shanahan even spoke on Trey Lance's comments about arm fatigue. And before I continue, I got to shout out my guy, Kali. Thank you guys. Thank you, all of you, for watching and staying tuned with the content. Be sure to also check out 49ers Web Zone. Posted 9 articles today about a ton of news. Be sure to check it out on Jimmy, Trey, Deebo, D'Amico Ryans, Fred Warner, all sorts of information. But Trey Lance, there was some other information revealed. Kyle Shanahan was asked by Tim Kawakami, "Was the arm fatigue thing ever true?" Here's what Kyle Shanahan had to say. "No, it's not a concern at all. Trey had some injuries last year when he broke his finger and stuff that he had to adjust some things to fight through and get through, which made him had some weeks where he did have a sore arm and things like that. But I haven't had a quarterback I've ever gone through in my career where there wasn't one time in that year where their arm wasn't bothering them. So there's no difference in other guys or any arm fatigue or anything like that. He had a great OTA period. He's in as good of a place right now as I've been around, and I just can't wait for him to start practicing here in a couple of days." So remember the reports. Ryan Harris said it earlier this week or year from CBS Sports, said Trey Lance had arm fitness issues. Mike Silvers said the same thing. Colin Cowherd had said the same thing. And maybe I'm not blaming them. Their sources probably told them that information. But let's get the facts straight. Last year, Trey Lance had a finger injury, the broken finger that he sustained in preseason, that hampered him throughout the entirety of the season. That finger injury was likely the reason why Trey Lance had to take practices off because he needed some time for rehab. He needed some time off just so that he could get back into form and be the backup quarterback for that week. Now, with that said, Kyle Shanahan essentially confirmed there is no such thing as arm fatigue. The players back Trey Lance as well. You saw Brandon Ayuk post that Trey Lance joked about Trey Lance having arm fatigue, and a bunch of players in that Instagram comment section following up with Trey Lance as well. So overall, Trey Lance doesn't necessarily have an issue right now, and Trey Lance is the guy to go going forward. Kyle Shanahan's confirmed it. Several players have confirmed it. And now it's official. Trey Lance is the quarterback for 2022. Jimmy Garoppolo's on his way out. But on the topic of Jimmy Garoppolo, Kyle Shanahan had some interesting things to say. He said, I haven't seen Jimmy since the season ended. Now, does that sound like Jimmy Garoppolo is your quarterback for 2022? A guy who Kyle Shanahan hasn't even spoken with since the season ended. However, Shanahan noted that Garoppolo will likely be in the building tomorrow for his physical. All 49er players are required to report tomorrow for training camp to have their physicals done. And with the new CBA rules, players do get fined if they do not show up to training camp for the first 3 days. It's up to $90,000 in fines. Garoppolo will likely be there. However, Kyle Shanahan does not envision Garoppolo practicing this entire training camp period. He believes that that would surprise him right now. However, Garoppolo, he says, has a great relationship with the 49ers. He thinks that Garoppolo understands what's happened over the last couple of years, and this is the business part of the league. Whether it's tomorrow, whether it's a couple of weeks from now, or whether it's before week one, he thinks that the 49ers will be in a good spot and Jimmy will be in a good spot, but likely somewhere else. Now, speaking about last year, Kyle Shanahan was asked, was Trey Lance going to play at all? Remember, there were several reports last year from beat writers saying that there was never a quarterback competition, nor was Trey Lance ever in consideration to start later in the year. However, we heard earlier this offseason from ESPN's Jim Trotter that that was false. Trey Lance was actually going to participate, or sorry, was going to be able to start in week 18. However, Garoppolo was healthy enough to play. Now, this was confirmed by Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan said that we definitely thought that if Jimmy couldn't play, that Trey was going to be in there. And there was definitely some consideration that Trey would start. He said that on multiple times, Jimmy Garoppolo was not able to throw on Mondays and Tuesdays of the week, leading some consideration into starting Trey Lance or another quarterback for that week. However, Garoppolo progressed as weeks went along and was fine by week 5. By the end of the week, by Fridays, throwing as well as he normally did, which is why he started in those games. That's a serious information because that does prove that Trey Lance could have started in those games because Jimmy Garoppolo was not healthy enough. And so, for all that we're saying that Trey Lance was not at all in a position to compete last year, I don't necessarily think that's true. Although the one thing that I have stressed and that some others have stressed is the 49ers have had a quarterback plan for 2021 and 2022. They wanted Garoppolo to be that guy for 2021. I thought it was the correct move to start Jimmy Garoppolo in 2021, and I also thought it was the correct move to not have Trey Lance start for the to not transition to Trey Lance just because of the significance of the schedule. I thought it was too hard to have a transition period not only for the quarterback but for the receivers, offensive line, and everybody involved because the bye week was in week 6 and because the 49ers had such a significantly tough schedule across the rest of the season, especially in that 6 to 10 week period. So that was really it about Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo. Kyle Shanahan, though, also talked about Deebo Samuel. Those three topics. Deebo Samuel, obviously, right now in a contract situation with the 49ers, has not agreed to an extension yet. Training camp begins tomorrow, but practice begins Wednesday. Kyle Shanahan hasn't gotten involved in the contract negotiations, he said, but doesn't think the situation is anything of worry right now, and he believes that it'll handle itself out, and that Deebo Samuel will become a 49er for 2022, but also for years to come. Right now, he says that he believes Deebo Samuel will participate in drills, but he doesn't want to guess, so that he's going to remain mute on that situation. But it is important to note he thinks Deebo Samuel will participate in drills despite not having a contract currently. Now, Deebo Samuel currently and his agent are in negotiations with John Lynch and Parag Marathe over the last couple of weeks, and Kyle Shanahan just believes it's all going to work out. That is some optimistic news heading into training camp. We now know that Trey Lance is confirmed the quarterback for 2022. We know that the 49ers are trying to find a situation for Jimmy Garoppolo outside of the 49ers organization. And we also know that Deebo Samuel's situation, right now, it doesn't seem like there's much to worry about despite an extension not happening. Now, as always, guys, I'm going to be here with the information. I'm going to be at training camp on Wednesday. I got my tickets and everything. I'll be there, and I'll be right here live right after to report what I saw at training camp be sure to stay tuned to the channel, subscribe to this channel, subscribe to the 49ers Red Zone channel, and also be sure to stay tuned on 49ers Web Zone. Make sure you check out all my written content there because I will have daily coverage reports and all the information that you guys need to know what's going on during 49ers training camp. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.